Celebrities are in the public eye more than most of them want to be. Plenty of celebrities seem one way on stage or in movies, but are completely different in real life when the camera isn't on them. This can either end up with them being ridiculously nice or disgustingly mean, with some celebrity personalities being a real surprise. These 5 celebs who are nothing like they seem in movies will definitely entertain you, and we can't wait to get into it. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Russell Crowe. While this one may seem obvious, we felt that it should be included in our countdown today because on-screen Russell Crowe really does seem like a good guy. If you haven't heard about his offstage antics, they are wide and varied, drawing the ire of plenty of people around the world. He's abrasive, and many of his co-workers have said that he's self-important and constantly belittles them. This is unfortunately something that a lot of big stars have in common, and it's too bad that Russell Crowe had to be counted in their number. A BBC executive has even been reported to have cut his Oscar win rebroadcast off short after getting into a row with the actor during the actual ceremony. We don't know exactly what words were exchanged at that point, but the fight must have gotten pretty dirty for an exec at such a prominent broadcasting company to take such over-the-top measures. It's not even just actors and BBC executives who have faced his ire, with more than a few directors telling stories about being physically accosted and threatened by Crowe, with some fairly big names among them. Crowe has actually admitted to being a little rough around the edges, stating that he simply doesn't like it when the media butts in or people start trying to push him around. As for the first point, that's just something you gotta deal with when you're a celebrity, Russell. Dealing with people is something you signed up for, and you should have thought about your temper before getting into such a public profession. As for not wanting to be pushed around, we get that. Nobody wants to be accosted and shoved into a wall or berated by coworkers, but that seems to be your MO, not theirs. The fact that Russell Crowe can sit there and try to play the victim after so many people have come forward to speak up about his unnecessary aggression is just ludicrous. It's also somewhat upsetting because while he's not doing much now, he did play some pretty great roles in movies we really dig. We do think that he's not quite worthy of the amount of awards he's been given, but many of these award shows are all about pandering to the right people behind the scenes instead of being focused on actual talent itself. Russell Crowe's got more talent than some other actors who seem to have slipped under the radar. We're looking at your Orlando Blooms, but he still doesn't rank with the heavyweights, and he really doesn't deserve to be such a brat. Number 4. Zac Efron. MeanStars.com has him rated at around 67% nice, but we don't think that's a good gauge of his real character when there are so many examples of how awesome Zac Efron is. He's the epitome of cool, at least these days. And while he doesn't really pick mean guy roles, he does like to downplay just how nice he can be. One story that earned him a ton of respect involved a fan chasing him down to get a selfie. He was obviously pretty excited, and it ended up making him a little nervous as well. The fan accidentally dropped his phone while running up to Efron, who graciously took a couple of selfies with the guy, and actually looks like he's having a great time just hanging out. Unfortunately, the guy's phone was busted and broken at that point, so the star took things a step further by going out and straight up buying the guy a new top-of-the-line phone worth $949. That's not something that just anyone would do, especially a celebrity, and we've got to give Zac kudos for making that move. It just goes to show that he's a stand-up guy who will always go out of his way to help out his fans. We assumed that kindness would carry on to the rest of his life, with that assumption being proven right time and time again. It seems like everyone who runs into him ends up having a good time, and you don't hear about that in Hollywood these days, making Efron really stand out. All this from a guy who's come out and said that he really isn't all that comfortable with his fame, and that he sometimes finds it hard to keep up. We think he's managing just fine, and he's definitely on the right track if he keeps up his positive attitude. It's also great to see an actor who started their career relatively young was able to keep sight of the more important aspects of life and not get too full of themselves. In Style also features an article about how to be a gentleman, with Zac taking the helm, and his insights really show off his best aspects. He opens up with advice like respect your elders, be punctual, and putting your phone down when you're hanging out with friends to give them your full attention, which we think is solid good guy advice. Number 3. Michael Jordan. This one was a shocker, but didn't take us too long to get over. I mean, the guy did think enough of himself that he attempted a career in baseball, for crying out loud. If that doesn't sum up the situation well enough, it's also worth noting that people thought so highly of him simply because of his basketball career that they let him, even though we all knew he was gonna make for a terrible baseball player. We're trying to say that it shouldn't surprise you that Michael Jordan developed a bit of an overinflated ego during his time in the public eye. It can happen to the best of them, with Mike unfortunately going down the wrong road. Getting everything you want whenever you want it would be fun, but we can't imagine being mean to people just trying to do their jobs, no matter how important we think we are. He talked a lot of trash about Charles Barkley, who thought they were friends until Mike told the world he and we, quote, hated him. Buzz Peterson even caught Jordan cheating at cards when the two were playing with Peterson's mother. Cheating an old woman at cards is just so stereotypically cruel that words can't describe how we feel about a guy like that, wanting to win so badly that he'd resort to such a low blow. It turns out he was a bad egg even before his fame, which must have made things worse, with even his high school coaches and teammates recounting tales of Michael berating them and flying into tantrums out of nowhere. We never saw this coming, but it just goes to show that celebrities, especially in the 80s and 90s, are never what they seem. We grew up idolizing Michael Jordan, along with most of the world, with many people still seeing him as a legend. We think his tantrums have sullied that to a certain extent, and we really hope that he manages to keep his cheating in check from here on out. We doubt that'll happen though, because at this point, he seems to be pretty much set in his ways. We don't need role models who act like that these days, and we like to think that, especially nowadays, we're able to hold our idols and other public figures to a higher standard than previous generations. Sports stars will always be a little tricky in that regard. With so much respect just for their ability, many people allow their judgment to be clouded when it comes to their demeanor and how they treat the people around them. Number 2, Rihanna. One revelation that didn't shock us was that Rihanna has a mean streak and isn't afraid to show it. Her fans actually support this bad girl persona because it's supposed to be her thing, but we really don't see any excuse for it. Plenty of people have grown up in rough circumstances and been able to treat those around them with respect, because it's really not that difficult. Furthermore, her celebrity persona doesn't need to be that of a mean girl, and she'd probably do much better without it, but it seems like she just can't help herself, preferring to act like a diva than a reasonable or rational person. She tells her fans to beat it when they ask for an autograph, even telling little kids to scram when all they wanted was to meet their idol. That's pretty harsh, and we'll say it again. If you don't want the attention, you can always find another job. If you want to be in the public eye, cozying up to fans is just a part of what you do for a living, and Rihanna should suck it up and stop acting like a princess. She even hopped onto the internet and bullied a high school girl who wore a dress that looked like hers to the prom, berating the girl online. She's known for engaging in plenty of online battles and beefs with other celebrities, and it seems clear at this point that she just doesn't have anything better to do than drag the rest of us down with her. After all that time she spent playing the victim, she should know a thing or two about not being a jerk. But even her own experiences haven't taught her how to act right, and we don't see that changing anytime in the near future. Number 1, Taylor Swift. Our final shock, at least to us, is that Taylor Swift, the heartbreaking troublemaker of the pop world, is actually a pretty down-to-earth person in real life. She does tend to make herself a bit of a target, with her prom photos portraying her in a pretty ridiculous light, to name one example. She takes the time to chat with her fans, not simply signing autographs, but actually spending time with them, even dispensing life advice, which, thankfully, isn't quite as bitter as her lyrics would suggest. She's shown up to surprise one fan at her bridal shower just to say congratulations, and accepted an invite to attend the wedding of another, which is unheard of in the celebrity world. Unless you count Bill Murray, who, if we're being honest, is in another league entirely when it comes to party crashing. She's given money to fans for everything from paying off student loans to helping pay for cancer treatments, and one Christmas, she even sent all of her fans individually personalized gifts. It could just be that Taylor knows how to play the game better than the rest of them, which could very well be the case, or she could really be a genuinely nice person. We're leaning towards the latter because she's really shown her fans that she cares and seems to go above and beyond to make other people happy. Hanging out and dancing with a 7-year-old with a rare genetic disorder and handing over $50,000 to a kid with cancer is pretty damn impressive no matter who you happen to be. There are plenty of people out there who may not like who Taylor Swift seems to be when she's on stage, but after hearing about all this, we're willing to give her a second chance. Alright, Top 5ers, we have something very exciting for you to see. Make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant. If you like what we have on Top 5's finest, then we know you will love what we have there too. But be warned, The videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There'll be a link in the description to the Brilliant channel, so make sure to visit us now. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Come on, click it. You know you want to. Oh, and while you're here, subscribe also. Heard it gives you superpowers. Anyway, see you soon.